Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. So we're reading from Surah Nur, verse number 26 today, inshallah. Birds of a feather, verse 26. Wicked women are for wicked men, and wicked men are for wicked women. And virtuous women are for virtuous men, and virtuous men are for virtuous women. The virtuous are innocent of what the wicked say. They will have forgiveness and an honorable provision. Entering people's homes. O believers, do not enter any house other than your own until you have asked for permission and greeted its occupants. This is best for you, so perhaps you will be mindful. If you find no one at home, do not enter it until you have been given permission. And if you are asked to leave, then leave. That is pure for you, and Allah has perfect knowledge of what you do.
Part of this, subhanAllah, one from the etiquettes of the Muslims, there's different ways to read this ayat, but as far as textual evidence, when you bring it back to the issue of al-isti'dhan, adab al-isti'dhan, the etiquette or the manners that relate to seeking permission to enter. This goes also to the issue of the children seeking permission before entering their parents' space, and it goes to knocking on the door before you enter into the bathroom, rather just open the door in public spaces. But here specifically is with regard to the house. So the issue of asking permission to enter, not just burning. Some of us, we have the culture that you're not allowed to come unless you're invited, and then some of us have the culture of just show up whenever you want and people just come in. So here's like a middle course of, seeking permission before entry. And that's important. That has been lost to some extent, the etiquette of the Muslims in that regard.
Yeah. Even when you knock on the door, you turn your back to the door. You don't look inside. Like, subhanAllah, there's such an etiquette, even just, entering a house. So, entering public places. There's no blame on you if you enter public places where there is something of benefit for you. And Allah knows what you reveal and what you conceal. Advice to Muslim men. O Prophet, tell the believing men to lower their gaze and guard their chastity. That is pure for them. Surely Allah is all aware of what they do. Advice to Muslim women. And tell the believing women to lower their gaze and guard their chastity and not to reveal their adornments except what normally appears. Let them draw their veils over their chests and not reveal their hidden adornments except to their husbands, their fathers-in-law, their sons, their stepsons, their brothers' sons or sisters' sons, their fellow women, those bondwomen in their possession, male attendants with no desire, or children who are still unaware of woman's nakedness. Let them not stomp their feet, drawing attention to their hidden adornments. Turn to Allah in repentance altogether, O believers, so that you may be successful. Advice to guardians. Marry off the free singles among you, as well as the righteous of your bondmen and bondwomen. If they are poor, Allah will enrich them out of His bounty, for Allah is all bountiful, all knowing. And let those who do not have the means to marry keep themselves chaste until Allah enriches them out of His bounty. And if any of those bond people in your possession desires a deed of emancipation, make it possible for them if you find goodness in them. And give them some of Allah's wealth which He has granted you. Do not force your slave girls into prostitution for your own worldly gains while they wish to remain chaste. And if someone coerces them, then after such a coercion, Allah is certainly all forgiving, most merciful to them.
And here in this section, this reminds us of the first 10 ayat of Surah Al-Mu'minun. And those ayat are the characteristics of the people of paradise. And I actually covered this sort of before in the general sense, and I was reflecting upon it again recently, and in our group here. And so one of the things that came to the fore was that Surah Al-Mu'minun, these characteristics are the people of paradise, but they act on these characteristics on the earth. Like these people who have these characteristics on the earth, they're promised paradise. Is not so that's something to think about, how it is that what we embody now, has an impact on our future in terms of the hereafter. So we act in certain ways because we fear for our hereafter. And so belief in al-ghaib changes the way that we act here now. The other issue that comes up is that the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, and this is another point that's extremely important in this age of nebulous sexuality, or where the idea of sexual identity is extremely fluid. Some people may ask why it is that why is that Muslims have certain boundaries. Well, we have certain guidelines that are rooted in revelation in our understanding, uh, and as well as human experience. So the reality of the family, you see that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at an early age, he said, "Ya ma'ashar al-shabab, man yastati' minkum al-ba' falyatazawwaju." And so in the hadith, he's looking at the youth, and the youth, to be honest with you, in the Islamic terms, can be anywhere from like, your the age of puberty all the way into your late 30s, 40s. You know, the concept of youth in Islam is a little more quiet in meaning. But here he gives, here is saying that the idea of keeping yourself chaste, and so he talks about the importance of fasting. In the hadith, in the ayah here, the ayah talks about the same thing, about keeping yourself chaste, and let those who do not have the means to marry keep themselves chaste. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave that directive to all of us, even to married people, because people can have, let's be open, because if we're not open, I think we run into some problems. Like sexuality is a very dangerous realm when it's controlled by uh, desire that doesn't have a divine guidance to it. Islam doesn't deny sexuality or sexual pleasure, or doesn't deny the dunya. It's what in academic religious studies says is a life affirming religion. Doesn't deny the material world, but things have to be in balance. And so one of the things that comes up is this issue of chastity. That's important. And being chaste is not only the issue of controlling your sexual desire, also الخطوات الشيطان. And the online world has opened that up for us tremendously, and the breakdown of society has opened that up for us tremendously. The footsteps of shaitan, in the sense that when we run into marital problems, what begins to happen in some cases, maybe not all communities, but some communities develop the model of, well, the brother just go get a second wife, and so then there's also that whole angle of, oh, well, just be open to whoever online, or tit for tat relationships. This stuff, we can't ignore it under the rubric or under the idea of saying, well, this is not what the Muslim practice. Because 15 years ago, when we were saying, well, this doesn't affect Muslims, we began to see it does affect Muslims. And I myself know, for instance, in Australian society, I've dealt with cases among Muslims which are extremely problematic in terms of, cheating and all other issues that come up in that regard. So the chastity is not just the issue of staying within the marriage, but it's also the conduct that we have. And that's why community is extremely important, because in our time of need, especially when there's relationship breakdowns, a lot of times we're looking, who can we talk to? Especially if we're not at that spiritual level where we can just exhaust our emotion and put it with Allah. We're looking out into society to see who can support us. And that's where the danger comes in, because then we feel sympathy or empathy from others, and we begin to misinterpret that as love. And we find ourselves violating our relationships. It's very difficult, in terms of the idea of maintaining the relationship. But chastity has to be more than just sexual desire. It has to also be that we know our limits. So even if we're taking refuge in someone and we're letting them know about our personal issues, because it is that mental health issues come up and we're going to break down, we have to separate lust from depending upon that person from being a counselor. You know what I'm saying? That's extremely important. Because people do that. They begin to tell strangers their problems online. They call people up and so on and so forth. But the guidance comes from the beginning that the institution of marriage is something that is established in Islam. We should be preparing from it. It says, marry off the free singles among you. We're obligated in this environment to come up with a solution as to how we're going to deal with this, because we can't just have our community uh, in unsecure conditions where people are just like, where do I look to get a spouse? So they're looking everywhere to get a spouse. And yes, some things I'm sorry, I'm taking a long time with this, but
Mm.
this is, but some issues, I know that Sulaim, she converted Talha. So there's precedent for women converting men. But the reality,
I've seen it as well. Yeah.
it happens with regularity in our community. But we shouldn't be at the point where everyone is so vulnerable and desperate and lonely, that we don't have a system. We have to rebuild that system. And it starts with our values. It starts with encouraging each other. It starts with supporting and aiding each other, and regrouping with these things that we're being taught. And part of it is chastity. Part of it here says, marry all free singles among you. So those of us who have that responsibility, we should be thinking about organizing. Even here it says, if they are poor, we have to rethink. And I'm sorry, people, but we have to rethink the mahr. We have to rethink the expectations that we have of marriage, because what we talk about when we talk about qawama in today's time is not the Islamic concept of qawama. It's not the concept of qawama that was understood in the time period of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, where we're expecting a man to be like a millionaire before he can get married. And that's just not logical. Everybody in our community is not going to be able to get the $500,000 house or the $300,000 house, whatever it is in equivalent terms in Australia, that easily. You're going to have relationships where men and women are going to have to cooperate with each other in order to establish the marriage. And that's going to take rethinking the way that we deal with each other and so on and so forth. And it should be done in an Islamic context. It shouldn't be done outside where this is outdated, or it shouldn't be this expectation. Well, Islam says you should do this, this, this. And then the expectation on the man is that everything that I want to charge on the credit card has to be brought to the table, or else you're not fulfilling your responsibility. We have to live in this type of house, and in this, we have to have this type of car with this type of lifestyle, with these types of brand name clothes. And if you don't do that, you're not fulfilling your role. Or the opposite is, I have the money, I have everything, and so you have to be obedient to me. You have no decision making, and you see that where the woman is completely wiped out as having an identity or say. Surah Nur is all about that. It's all about regrouping on the family. Surah Nur is a surah which is really taking us to having an understanding, of what it is that the structure of the family, means. And Medina, when it was revealed in Medina, we have to realize that the family was destroyed in Mecca because people were becoming Muslim. And many times when the family was destroyed, it means that all of that system of bonds, the tribal bonds, the family bonds, it was all disintegrated to a great extent. Not 100%, but it wasn't what was seen before the rise of Islam. So the reconstructing of the family begins in Medina. And so this is now we begin to see how to institute the family again. So that's very important. I know I overtalked my time, but this is one of the most burgeoning issues in the Ummah right now. And without the stabilization of the family, we will never have an Ummah with continuity, and we will never have a healthy spiritual life.
Thank you, Sheikh Yusuf. And one of the brothers the other day, he was giving a talk, and he mentioned one of the scholars from Maghrib, and he said that if the Muslim society is being destroyed by the destruction of three things. I guess the place of woman in a household as like a mother, a wife, that seeing that as a noble thing is being destroyed. Number two, he said family. Number three, the scholars, the reputation or the value of scholarship. But I won't go further into that. So,
Okay, if you can put that in the group or send it, I would like to listen to that
yeah,
talk. I have an interest in that.
inshallah.
So,
No worries. Examples and lessons. Indeed, we have sent down to you clear revelations along with examples of those who had gone before you, and they listened to the God-fearing. Parable for the believer's heart. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. His light is like a niche in which there is a lamp. The lamp is in a crystal. The crystal is like a shining star lit from the oil of a blessed olive tree, located neither to the east nor the west, whose oil would almost glow even without being touched by fire. Light upon light. Allah guides whoever He wills to His light, and Allah sets forth parables for humanity, for Allah has perfect knowledge of all things. True believers. That light shines through houses of worship which Allah has ordered to be raised and where His name is mentioned. He is glorified there morning and evening by men who are not distracted either by buying or selling from Allah's remembrance or performing prayer or paying alms tax. They fear a day when heart and eyes will tremble, hoping that Allah may reward them according to the best of their deeds and increase them out of His grace. And Allah provides for whoever He wills without limit. Parable for disbelievers. As for the disbelievers, their deeds are like a mirage in a desert, which the thirsty perceive as water, but when they approach it, they find it to be nothing. Instead, they find Allah there in the hereafter, ready to settle their account, and Allah is swift in reckoning. We might have watched movies, but like the mirage, from far away, it looks like there's water, but as you get close to it, you realize that it wasn't water. It was just, I guess, in the horizon. That's what it looked like. But so their deeds have nothing in value in the sight of Allah. Another parable, or their deeds are like the darkness in a deep sea, covered by waves upon waves, topped by dark clouds, darkness upon darkness. If one stretches out their hand, they can hardly see it, and whoever Allah does not bless with light will have no light.
Surah Al-Asr, it talks about Innal Insan Lafi Khusr, and the idea of trade was very relevant to the Quraysh and to those other tribes in that region, especially Quraysh, because they depended upon their travels at least twice a year to be able to benefit themselves economically. So the deeds having weight or value, the idea of action without iman being bankrupt is something that's very dominant in that surah. And then here it brings up this issue that that these deeds are like an illusion. You know what I'm saying? They don't have any weight at all, and the deeds performed, out of comfort and so on and so forth. They're darkness. It really, to be honest with you, from the angle of dawah, it's always hard to know what brings a person into Islam. But it's important for us to think about this for ourselves. And I think that in us embodying these teachings, that deeds that are not really rooted in the pleasure of Allah, deeds that are not really rooted and grounded in iman, don't hold any weight at all before Allah. So our lives will be completely meaningless without iman. It's important for us to embody that more so than judge the non-Muslims, because for the non-Muslims, we're supposed to be characterizing the idea rahmatan lil alameen. Yes, we enjoin the good and we forbid the evil. We have a standard of justice and equity. But when it comes to teaching, we want them to experience the mercy and the good news that come from iman. But sometimes in the geopolitical realm, there's that clash between us and the non-Muslims, and so how we deal with them is somewhat negative at times. And political leaders and tyrants and oppressors, that's a whole different gamut. But we're talking about the average non-Muslim. So I feel that tie-in is very important here. The tie-in of the weight of deeds, because the scales, belief in the scales is a cornerstone of iman. Is part of believing in unseen, and so we should have that concept that some deeds they don't have any weight, and that should bring us to evaluate our lives. These parables are extremely heavy. As for the disbelievers, their deeds are like a mirage in the desert, which the thirsty perceive as water, but when they approach it, they find it to be nothing. Imagine we spend all of our lives on that, and it's just a loss.
Thank you, Imam Yusuf. And like Iman is light, and Iman, there's a parable here, right? And it's like you go into a room, if it's dark, you don't know what to wear, you can't give meaning to items, and like everything's strange to you, everything is foreign to you, you're scared, you have fear. But as soon as you switch that light on, everything has meaning. Everything now you can see the furniture, whatever's in there. You can understand their purpose. You can see the room as a whole now instead of trying to feel things around. So once that light comes in, the iman comes in, everything then has meaning in the universe and around you. Everything gets connected. You start understanding their purpose. So yeah.
I think that's extremely important. I know that on these couple issues we're taking a lot of time, but I think that what you're saying is extremely important, and we have to realize, like Imam Sayyid Nursi rahmatullahi alayhi rahmatullahi, one of the things that he understood very clearly and makes him distinct as a Muslim scholar, one of the late great Ottoman scholars, was this reality that the contemporary world, it is very cynical and very nihilistic, and it's more so for us today than it was yesterday, than it was some time in the past. And so that when you talk about iman as being light, sure, like in all of these situations, like you look at Palestine, people, they're trying to find meaning. Like, what does that mean? It's so empty, so nasty. You understand what I'm saying? Like, even a lot of everybody's trying to make sense of that. You know what I'm saying? And it's not only that, it's like you can see, like if you look at the US, just go on YouTube and look up Kensington and North Philadelphia. Whole neighborhoods of people on heroin. Human life just at zero. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and then it's like, I know personal stories where parents are dropping off their children into these areas because they have no way to deal with them anymore, so that they can get a fix on drugs. And when you go deeper and you see the hurt in that person's life, so the reason why I'm bringing up these examples is that we're bottoming out. So what you're saying about iman as being light, this is not a theoretical idea. It's not just we're stopping in our reflection of Quran, and yes, let's flute, let's beep our own horns, talk about iman as being light. No, it's serious. We have to remind each other about the reality of iman at this level until it settles in our hearts, because we ourselves can even go through this. We ourselves can go into these layers of darkness. You know what I'm saying? And so the issue that I just want to stay with is that one thing is that the role of the Risali Inord is to train us to disconnect from the helplessness, to train us to disconnect from the meaninglessness, from the sense that things don't have value, from darkness, you know what I'm saying, and bring in the light of Iman, and to be able to capture those Quranic teachings. But we need that training. It's just not going to come with having the idea. We constantly have to refreshen ourselves so that it becomes a reality. Then we finally taste it. Imam al-Ghazali rahmatullahi alayhi went through some deep experiences of human darkness. And one of the things that he said at the end that aided him is the reality of tasting his relationship with Allah. And that has to be work for people. Too many of us, we think that religion is just feeling in the moment. And when we don't have the feeling, then we're ready to abandon because it's not feel good moment. But no, we will taste it when we stay committed to it, and it will be opened up to us on the law's terms, not our terms. That's part of what submission means. Allah knows best, and may Allah protect us and guide us in our iman.
Inshallah. Submission to Allah. Do you not see that Allah is glorified by all those in the heavens and the earth, even the birds as they soar? Each instinctively knows their manner of prayer and glorification, and Allah has perfect knowledge of all they do. To Allah alone belongs the kingdom of the heavens and the earth, and to Allah is the final return. The miracle of rain. Do you not see that Allah gently drives the clouds, then joins them together, piling them up into masses from which you see raindrops come forth? And He sends down from the sky mountains of clouds loaded with hail, pouring it on whoever He wills and averting it from whoever He wills. The flash of the clouds, lightning nearly takes away eyesight. Allah alternates the day and night. Surely in this is a lesson for people of insight. The miracle of creation. And Allah has created from water every living creature. Some of them crawl on their bellies, some walk on 2 legs, and some walk on 4. Allah creates whatever He wills. Surely Allah is most capable of everything. The hypocrites and judgment. We have indeed sent down revelations clarifying the truth, but Allah only guides whoever He wills to the straight path. And the hypocrites say, we believe in Allah and the Messenger and we obey. Then a group of them turns away soon after that. These are not true believers. And as soon as they are called to Allah and His Messenger so He may judge between them, a group of them turns away. But if the truth is in their favor, they come to Him fully submitting. Is there a sickness in their hearts, or are they in doubt? Or do they fear that Allah and His Messenger will be unjust to them? In fact, it is they who are the true wrongdoers. That ala harfin, the verse we've read, I think it was yesterday, right? They're on edge and they work, they come when it's in their favor, and they stay away when it's against them. So
Yeah, this is what I was saying also about feeling. Like one of the things that we lack in our contemporary study of belief, even if you want to say theology, or even in Tazkiyat an-Nafs, even in purification of the heart, or our spiritual orientation, is we really don't understand how it is that capitalism has an impact on us. And so the capitalist system, one of the things that is always looking at is how to create experiences and how to create feel-good experiences, because feel-good experiences allow for the selling of things and so on and so forth. And so the feel-good culture has become extremely dominant. And when we begin to associate spirituality with only feel-good, we just are not meshing with reality. In the book Sustenance of the Soul, Imam Belkhi, he talks about depression coming about because it's part of life, but there's certain levels of depression that are sickness that have to be addressed. But he talks about life in the Quranic concept is hardship and ease, right? It's bittersweet. It has a dualistic nature. So when we try to reduce this world to being Jannah, to being a place where we should only be increasing in good experience, good, or feel good, unlimited, is really not being truthful with the nature of this dimension, of life. The other issue is that Christianity, we have to realize that in the Christian world, the idea of tarhib and targhib, the idea of fearing the punishment of Allah and holding on to the promise of Allah, those two realities, it was wiped out. There was a time where in Christianity, the discourse from the pulpit, or what we call the minbar, was mostly only fire and brimstone. And so then they went to the opposite, and the opposite is only talking about goodness and positive things and so on and so forth, and eliminated the idea of the wrath of God. But the Quranic concept, we see every surah of the Quran, with the exception of Tawbah, begins with the Rahmah of Allah. And we see that in these chapters of the Quran we're dealing with, we see the promise of Allah and the threat of Allah. Promise of Allah and the threat of Allah. The promise to those that seek their good, because Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala doesn't need our worship. And the threat to those that they sought their own destruction because they decided to defy the guidance of Allah. And so we have to be realistic and have an understanding that the civilization that we're living under, their concept of religion is not imitating the Quranic reality. So it also meshes with an economic concept that's driving us to only want to have positive experiences, to only want to have feel good experiences. And I'm not saying that we should be suffering and tortured, but I'm saying religion, we have to rethink how we're thinking about religion. Because even in our discussions on deen, they're becoming only feel good experience. Mo is that, and then it just becomes positive psychology. That's not the method of the Quran. So the Quran is warning us about only coming to religion when things are good, or we're only seeking good experiences, and that's it, and not holding on to religion in the time of hardship. And like Ustad Ahmed said, that Iman, it gives us the keys to unlock reality. And he put it in a different way. He says it gives meaning to things, and that's why learning Iman is important.
The believers and judgment. The only response of the true believers when they are called to Allah and His Messenger so He may judge between them is to say, "We hear and obey." It is they who will truly succeed. For whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger and fears Allah and is mindful of Him, then it is they who will truly triumph. Hypocrites' lip service. They swear by Allah their most solemn oaths that if you, O Prophet, were to command them, they would certainly march forth in Allah's cause. Say, you do not have to swear, your obedience is well known. Surely Allah is all aware of what you do. Say, obey Allah and obey the Messenger, but if you turn away, then He is only responsible for His duty and you are responsible for yours. And if you obey Him, you will be rightly guided. The messenger's duty is only to deliver the message clearly. Allah's promise to the believers. Allah has promised those of you who believe and do good that He will certainly make them successors in the land, as He did with those before them, and will surely establish for them their faith which He has chosen for them, and will indeed change their fear into security, provided that they worship Me, associating nothing with Me. But whoever believes after this promise, it is they who will be the rebellious. So whoever disbelieves after this promise, it is they who will be the rebellious. Moreover, establish prayer, pay alms tax, and obey the messenger so you may be shown mercy. Do not think, O Prophet, that the disbelievers can escape in the land. The fire will be their home. Indeed, what an evil destination. Permission at 3 times. O believers, let those bondspeople in your possession and those of you who are still underage ask for your permission to come in at 3 times. Before dawn prayer, when you take off your outer clothes at noon, and after the late evening prayer. These are 3 times of privacy for you. Other than these times, there is no blame on you or them to move freely, attending to one another. This is how Allah makes the revelations clear to you, for Allah is all-knowing, all-wise. Permission at all times. And when your children...
we were reading the ayah 55, the issue of making them successors in the land, and the Quranic concept of istikhlaf. But one of the things that's interesting to note here is that it said that this ayat was revealed with regard to the right of the believers of fi haqqil mu'minin, those who made hijrah from Mecca to Medina. And so even though they were persecuted, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala established them in Medina. They were forced out of Mecca because they stayed firm And I think in this time period, that's something that we have to really hold on to. It may take a generation or two, but Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala's promise is true. And that, even though we see that people are being persecuted sometimes for religion and so on and so forth, or unjustly treated, but with time, they're established on the earth. But we're called to remain firm.
Modesty for elderly women. As for elderly women past the age of marriage, there is no blame on them if they take off their outer garments without revealing their adornments. But it is better for them if they avoid this altogether, and Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing. No restrictions. There is no restriction on the blind or the disabled or the sick, nor on yourselves if you eat from your homes or the homes of your fathers or your mothers or your brothers or your sisters or your paternal uncles or your paternal aunts or your maternal uncles or your maternal aunts, or from the homes in your trust or the homes of your friends. There's no blame on you eating together or separately. However, when you enter houses, greet one another with a greeting of peace from Allah, blessed and good. This is how Allah makes His revelations clear to you, so perhaps you will understand. What are we referring to here when, like, I guess, eating from your houses? Maybe we could come back to that, but yeah, I just kind of anything on that. Sticking with the Prophet. The true believers are only those who believe in Allah and His Messenger, and when they are with Him on a public matter, they do not leave without His permission. Indeed, those who ask your permission, O Prophet, are the ones who truly believe in Allah and His Messenger. So when they ask your permission for a private matter, grant permission to whoever you wish and ask Allah's forgiveness for them. Surely Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. Do not treat the messenger's summons to you as lightly as your summons to another.
So sorry about that. That referred to Sa'id bin Musayyib radiallahu anhu. See that ayah had referred to those who stayed behind, the relatives of those who had left with the Prophet for war. So there were some that were considered Ashab al-Allah. They were excused from having to participate in battle. And so the keys to their homes were left. So the idea was that they were given permission to be able to eat in the homes of their relatives. That was is a certain type of etiquette that was established in that regard.
Okay.
Allahu Alam.
Do not treat the messenger's summons to you as lightly as your summons to one another. Allah certainly knows those of you who slip away, hiding behind others. So let those who disobey His orders beware, for an affliction may befall them, or a painful torment may overtake them. Allah knows everything. Surely to Allah belongs whatever is in the heavens and the earth. He knows well what you stand for. And on the day all will be returned to Him. He will inform them of what they did. For Allah has perfect knowledge of all things. Surah ends here.
Surah Furqan.
Okay. So Surah Furqan.
Yeah.
This Meccan surah takes its name from verses 1 to 6, which refute the pagan claims that the Quran was fabricated and plagiarized from earlier scriptures. Other passages condemn polytheism, denial of resurrection, and mocking the Prophet ﷺ. Allah's power manifested in the marvels of creation and rain is emphasized in this surah and the previous one. The qualities of the righteous servants of Allah are beautifully laid out in verses 63 to 76. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, most merciful, kingdom of Almighty Allah. Blessed is the one who sent down the standard to His servant so that he may be a warner to the whole world. Allah is the one to whom belongs the kingdom of the heavens and the earth, who has never had any offspring, nor does we have a partner in governing the kingdom, nor does he have a partner in governing the kingdom. He has created everything, ordaining it precisely. So, Sadiq, what's the standard translated as by Sheikh Noor?
The criterion.
The criteria.
Furqan.
To distinguish between right and wrong. The polytheists, yet they have taken besides him gods who cannot create anything but are themselves created, nor can they protect.
Sorry to cut you off on that, but I was reflecting on that concept because the Quran is described as a Furqan as well. The idea of the criterion or the Furqan, that's an important point. And for me, as a student of philosophy, that interests me very much, because what it shows is that Revelation is laying down that there's some ethical standard by which to determine realities. The reality of a thing. Is this thing right or is this thing wrong? Is this thing good? Is it bad? Is it harmful? Is it beneficial? And so the idea of Al-Furqan, it is, and if you look at what the introduction says, it's a Meccan surah which takes its name from the first 6 ayat, which refute the pagan claims that the Quran was fabricated and plagiarized from earlier scriptures. Right. Other passages condemn shirk, the denial of the resurrection, and the mocking of the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. And so there is this sense that, okay, like, it's not just the issue of my claim versus your claim. You know what I'm saying? It's the reality of declaring there's a true standard. You get what I'm saying? So the term Furqan has a lot of weight in that regard. And when in doubt, we should have that idea that the Quran is laying down principles for us to be able to determine what's beautiful, what's good, what's right, what's wrong, what's truthful, at least in a general way. But these things that first of all, they said the revelation was fabricated. So then we're just left with the rule of the might, or might is what makes right, or we're left with ideas, or we're left with whoever can influence the most. When you eliminate revelation, you don't have a standard for truth claim. The other issue is to say that the Quran, was fabricated, or plagiarized from earlier scriptures, would be to take away from the essence of the Quran. That's a doubt that the contemporary Orientalists they try to put forward, especially those from Princeton University. They've tried to argue this point. Patricia Crone and Michael Cook, and I mentioned this before, that Sheikh Abdul Daraz, in the book that's posted in PDF, he argues against this concept. And then finally, the issue of the lack of the resurrection. If you remove resurrection from the equation, which is something that up to now has been very constant in the Meccan sword of the Quran, the issue of al-Bahth, it's key, a cornerstone tenet across the board, especially in the Meccan Quran. And it's clarified because there was some doubt with regard to this. But that's something that in this age has become very dominant. The idea that there's an afterlife, doubt in the resurrection, the idea that there's an afterlife. So we see, certain realities are very real in today's time, even this point of what? Even this point of mocking the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. Mocking the Prophet is not a new thing in this age, but we've seen to the point where it even got, where it went in Europe. And mocking the prophets across the board has become a standard of kufr. It's in the TV shows, it's in the jokes, it's been put in movies. So a lot of these things that are being brought up, at least in this introduction as summary points, they are the exact points which we need to be clear on, because it's what allows us to have some sense of Furqan, or a sense of a criteria, was right, wrong, was foundation, was not foundational in terms of belief and revelation. Allah knows best.
Denying the Quran. The disbelievers say this Quran is nothing but a fabrication which he made up with the help of others. Their claim is totally unjustified and untrue. And they say, these revelations are only ancient fables which he has had written down, and they are rehearsed to him morning and evening. Say, O Prophet, this Quran has been revealed by the one who knows the secrets of the heavens and the earth. Surely he is all forgiving, most merciful. Denying the Prophet. And they say mockingly, what kind of messenger is this who eats food and goes about in marketplaces for a living? If only an angel had been sent down with him to be his co-warner, or a treasure had been cast down to him, or he had had a garden from which he may eat. And the wrongdoers say to the believers, you are only following a bewitched man. See, O Prophet, how they call you names, so they have gone so far astray that they cannot find the right way. Blessed is the one who, if he wills, can give you a far better than all that, gardens under which rivers flow, and palaces as well. Sheikh Yusuf, would you like to read?
Sure. Torment for the deniers. In the fact they deny the hour. And for the deniers of the hour, we have prepared a blazing fire. Once it sees them from a distance, they will hear fuming and growling. And when they are tossed into a narrow place inside hell, chained together, then and there they will cry out for instant destruction. SubhanAllah, Ya Rabbi. They will be told, do not cry only once for destruction, but cry many times over. Reward of the righteous. Say, O
So
Prophet,
they cry for destruction because they want to be finished and done, so they don't have any more punishment.
La ilaha illallah.
Correct? That's the
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's subhanallah.
Also, hellfire, taghayyudhan wa zafira. It's almost like hellfire itself has a consciousness and
Yes, yeah. It's like it's living.
devoid
Yeah,
of life.
yeah. We're
Hadith
gonna bring
talk about hellfire and heaven complaining to each other or arguing one another. And Allah says, you know, with you, I punish like those who disobey me, and through you, my mercy is reflected.
You know, I don't want to get into this too much, but sometimes it is helpful, at least to some level. It kind of opens up other dimensions for us of understanding. But in Islamic philosophy and mysticism, the atoms, the fire, nature itself is animate, and we don't go to the extent of the pantheists or those who believe that everything is God. But there is this sense that everything in existence it has its dhikr, it has its identity, and is in the service of God. And so here, clearly, the imagery that's being shown, you know what I'm saying, is the fire in that sense, And so the same thing, like Dr. Sadiq said, heaven, but the creation overall, it's like Ustad Ahmed was mentioning. Iman gives meaning to everything. Science by itself is one dimensional, and it's needed, necessary in some cases, but science is one dimensional knowledge. It can't be totalizing knowledge. And so science takes away this aspect of looking at the creation from us. You know what I'm saying? Because it's looking at cause and effect, and is looking at how to explain things. But here, the reality is being said that the reality of the fire is given like this sense of an identity, and we should uphold that. We should uphold those meanings there, and we should know that the scientific meanings of things, it has its place and its role, but it doesn't have to dominate everything that we see. They will be told, do not cry only once for destruction, but cry many times, over. Say, O Prophet, is this better or the garden of eternity which the righteous have promised as a reward and an ultimate destination? There they will have whatever they wish for forever. That is a promise to be sought after, binding on your Lord. The disavowed, watch for the day He will gather them all along with what they used to worship besides Allah, and ask the objects of worship. Ask the objects of worship. Was it you who misled these servants of mine, or did they stray from the way on their own? They will say, glory be to you. It was not right for others like us to take any lords besides you, but you allowed enjoyment for them and their forefathers for so long that they forgot your remembrance and became a doomed people. The doomed people will be told, your gods have clearly denied your claims, so now you can neither ward off the punishment nor get any help. And whoever of you does wrong, we will make them taste a horrible punishment. It, and you see the reality of the creation when you think about the place of sujud, that you made sujud on the earth, it being a testimony for you, but also how it is that the human body, this flesh, the limbs, the eyes, the ears, everything will be a testimony for you or against you. And so here, even those idols that are part of the creation, here it is, they're talking. You know what I'm saying? They're talking back and they're giving a testimony that we weren't the ones that commanded them to worship. You know what I'm saying? They have to take responsibility. So it's like, it goes back to that idea that the creation itself, is in the servitude of Allah Ta'ala, and is crying out the reality of Tawheed. They will say, glory be to you. It was not right for others like us to take any lords besides you, but you allowed enjoyment for them and their forefathers for so long that they forgot your remembrance and became a doomed people. The doomed will be told, your gods have clearly denied your claims. So now you can neither ward off the punishment nor get any help. And whoever of you does wrong, we will make them taste a horrible punishment. In the conference of the birds, Mantik Tuyor, he takes up this same type of concept where he's making the creation speak to each other about the case of human beings. We never sent any messenger before you, O Prophet, who did not eat food and go about in marketplaces. We have made some of you a trial for others. Will you not then be patient? And your Lord is all-seeing, desperate to meet the angels. Those who do not expect to meet us say, if only the angels were sent down to us, or we could see our Lord. They have certainly been carried away by their arrogance and have entirely exceeded all limits. But on the day they will see the angels, there will be no good news for the wicked, who will cry, keep away from us. Then we will turn to whatever good deeds they did, reducing them to scattered dust. But on that day, the residents of paradise will have the best settlement and the finest place to rest. Judgment Day. Watch for the day the heavens will burst with clouds, and the angels will be sent down in successive ranks. True authority on that day will belong only to the most compassionate. SubhanAllah. And it will be a hard day for the disbelievers, useless remorse. And be aware of the day the wrongdoer will bite his nails and regret and say, oh, I wish I had followed the way along with the messenger. Woe to me. I wish I had never taken so-and-so as a close friend. It was he who truly made me stray from the reminder after it had reached me. And Satan has always betrayed humanity. Pagans' neglect of the Quran. The messenger has cried, oh my Lord, my people have indeed received this Quran with neglect. Similarly, we made enemies for every prophet from among the wicked, but sufficient is your Lord as a guide and helper. The disbelievers say, if only the Quran had been sent down to him all at once. We have sent it as such in stages, so we may reassure your heart with it. And we have revealed it at a deliberate
With that
pace.
verse,
Which one?
that's 32, I think.
Uh-huh.
لولا نزل عليه القرآن. If only the Quran was revealed to him. In their very question, there's a contradiction, because nuzila sometimes perhaps can be seen as unzila, but Nuzila, just on the same page before, it says the angel will be sent down tanzila. وَنُزِّلَ الْمَلَائِكَةُ تَنزِيلًا, and the translation was it comes successively.
Yeah.
But for the Quran to be revealed, but they're saying, why wasn't it revealed just all at once? Jumlatan wahida. But they're using the word nuzila in the very question. It's there's a bit of a contradiction.
Because here, one of the characteristics, and this is affirmed to in الموسوعة القرآنية الميسر. Dr. Wahab Azhari rahmatullahi alayhi was part of that program along with others. And what I've learned in Tariq al-Tashri'a, and this is reaffirmed there as well, is that the characteristic of the Quran is tanzeel. Although the Quran came down twice, it came down بدفعة واحدة إلى بيت المأمور or Lawh Mahfuz, and then it came down to humanity in stages. But the characteristic of the Torah, especially, was that it came down all at one time. And so here it says, كما أنزلت التوراة على موسى فرد الله عليهم أنزلناه عليها مفرقة على هذا الوجه. Anyway, from the idea there that they're reiterating that concept that the characteristic of the Torah was that it was revealed all at one time. Now, what comes along with that is that the taklif then becomes demanded at the moment. And if you notice here, it says, watch for the day the heavens will burst with clouds and the angels. This is ayat 25, 26. Watch for the day the heavens will burst with clouds and the angels will be sent down to successive ranks. True authority on that day will belong only to the most compassionate. And it will be a hard day for the disbelievers. Maybe it's a stretch to say, but I think that the Quran is emphasizing who Allah is, the issue of compassion, but the reality of it, tashri'ah, or the way that it is revealed legislatively in terms of what it is that is demanding, is also compassion because it's full of yusr, or full of ease, step by step, gradually, and it comes successively the way the human beings develop successively. We develop in stages. And so the same thing when it comes to our practice, it is brought to us in stages. And the Muslim, we see that in the life of the average person that's born Muslim. They don't become responsible for salah unless bulugh comes or they're pubescent. Then stage by stage, they learn their responsibilities in the deen. It's not all at one time. So here, them asking, you know what I'm saying? Remember also that they were claiming that the Quran was borrowed. The Quran was fabricated. So perhaps there's that idea that they're looking, well, their revelation came at one time. Your revelation is not coming to you at one time. You have to wait. You have to wait, dude. You know what I'm saying? They don't have that respect for the Prophet in that sense. So the distinctive feature is shown to be that it came in stages. But they tried to use that as a rationale for neglecting the Quran. If the disbelievers say, if only the Quran had been sent down to him all at once, we have sent it as such in stages, so we may, and the Quran here is giving ta'leel, is giving the rationale as to why it's sent in stages. In ayat 32, we may reassure your heart with it. And there's places where the Quran is coming and is giving the Prophet consultation, tasliyah, in times of hardship. And we have revealed it at a deliberate pace, that is intentionally revealed that way so that it can be understood in practice, right? Whenever they bring you an argument, we come to you with the right refutation and the best explanation. We respond to them. When they bring up the issue, we respond right back to them. If it was revealed all at one time, the Quran couldn't interact with the people in that way, right? Those who will be dragged into the hell on their faces would be in the worst place, and are now farthest from the right way. Destruction of Pharaoh's people. We certainly gave Moses the book and appointed his brother Aaron as his helper. We ordered them, go to the people who would deny our signs. Then we annihilated the deniers entirely. Destruction of Noah's people. SubhanAllah. And when the people of Noah rejected the messengers, we drowned them, making them an example to humanity. This is after Allah says that Allah is the most compassionate. So the reality of the punishment is coming to be true for those who deny, the signs of Allah wa ta'ala. And we have prepared a painful punishment for the wrongdoers, destruction of other peoples. Also, we destroyed Ad, Thamud, and the people of the water pit, as well as many peoples in between. For each we set forth various lessons, and we ultimately destroyed each. Warning to Meccan pagans.
There's a group mentioned here, Ad and the
Thamud, and the other one.
Ashab al-Ras.
Yes.
Scholars of this have provided different opinions of who they could be. Some have brought the opinion that it was the name of a river. Others, in a point that out of a town of that name exists to this day in the Central Arabian province of Qasim, sorry. Here in one translation, the footnote, it says it has been inhabited by descendants of the Nabatean tribe of the Thamud. Another opinion is because they threw the messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam who was sent to them as well. So just various views are given.
Did you get that they would also call the Ashab al-Ukhdud?
No, this one wasn't mentioned here. No, let's continue, just due to time, but it's a unique place. I don't think if anywhere else the Quran mentions this.
Yeah.
Some of these unique names, Iram, for example, in Surah. Sometimes, recently I read an article how some of these words were used in pre-Islamic towns, and they found these names come out in documents, and it was never used. It's a bit of some of them can be quite miraculous if the right historical things come out. Allahu Alam.
Warning to Meccan pagans. Now the warning is going to the people of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They have certainly passed by the city of Sodom, which had been showered with a dreadful rain of stones. Have they not seen his ruins, but they do not expect to be resurrected? Now, here, interesting is that must have been something that was present to Quraysh. They must have known about that. That's an archaeological reality. And so this is the type of argument that Sheikh Abdullah Daraz brings out, archaeological points like this, that the Quran is not just relying on rational argumentation. The Quran is bringing lessons from the past, from history, and things that are known to the people, and even signs in the creation to prove its truths. Right? When they see you, O Prophet, they only make fun of you, saying, "Is this the one that Allah has sent as a messenger?" He would have almost tricked us away from our gods had we not been so devoted to them. But soon they will know, when they face the punishment, who is far astray from the right way. Have you seen, O Prophet, the one who has taken their own desires as their God? Will you then be a keeper over them? Or do you think that most of them listen or understand? They are only like cattle. No, more than that, they are astray from the right way. Allah's power.
There's a hadith mentioned here about those who take their hawa as a god, that nothing under the sky that has been made as a shirk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more mudhish, more scary than the hawa. Like, it's one of the biggest things that's been taken as a partner to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
What, the desire?
Yeah, most detrimental, perhaps we can say. Hadith has been quoted from Tabarani.
Idea of Adallu Sabil, Adallu Sabil is mentioned a number of times, almost back to back here, that they have not taken the right way. They have strayed. We have the concept of Wala Dalleen. So this is also a characteristic of what it means to be have lost the way. Allah's power. The sun and the shade. The sun and shade. Have you not seen how your Lord extends the shade? He could have simply made it to remain still if he so willed. Then we make the sun its guide, causing the shade to retreat gradually. The day and night, He is the one who has made the night for you as a cover and made sleep for resting and the day for rising, the rain. And He is the one who sends the winds, ushering in His mercy. And we send down pure rain from the sky, giving life to a lifeless land and providing water for countless animals and humans of our own creation. We certainly disperse it among them so they may be mindful, but most persist in ungratefulness. One universal messenger. Had we willed, we could have easily sent a warner to every society. So do not yield to the disbelievers, but strive diligently against them with this Quran. What do you make of that, people? Ayah 51 or Ayah 52 actually is Ayah 52.
Yeah, many of the wajahidhum bihi jihadan kabira. It's the famous opinion is that it refers to the Quran.
Would you say
But engage in a mighty striving against it by means of it. Bihi refers to the Quran. And secondly, Surah Furqan being a Meccan surah, jihad had not been given permission for. So it strengthens the opinion that, use this Quran, use the arguments of it to combat them.
would you say that also that this kind of serves as a basis for what Ustaz was setting out to do in the Risale Noor when he started taking to
Yeah, the Quranic way, whether it comes to proving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether it comes to Islamic spirituality. He talks about different types of spiritualities, and there's this one that's the Quranic way of spirituality. You could using Ishari tafsir, saying it alludes to stuff like that. Allahu alam.
But do you think that it seems as though he captured this ayah? Seems like he captured this ayah in understanding what had to be done with the age, and he decided to deal with this belief on this term, on this level, after having engaged in armed struggle. This is one of the things that he says that this here, the struggle with the Quran becomes the obligation of the age, so on and so forth. Or if I understood correctly, but
No.
I didn't make that link before, but I think maybe he may have drawn from that. Fresh and salt water, and He is the one who merges the two bodies of water, one fresh and palatable, and the other salty and bitter, placing between them a barrier they cannot cross. Creation of humans. And He is the one who creates humans from a humble liquid, then establishes for them bonds of kinship and marriage. For your Lord is most capable, subhanAllah. Powerless gods,
With
yet they
these two
worship.
seas joining and not meeting, the fresh and the salt one.
Yeah,
Some people have said it's the Atlantic, the Mediterranean meeting with the Atlantic Ocean, which they do not mingle. Near the Straits of Gibraltar, and other opinions have been forth. There's a lot of also videos floating around on YouTube and so on about this, showing these things.
I
Is it
mean,
also,
these people were masters of their geography, but do you think that was possible for them to know that?
Oh no, I don't think so.
Sorry, Ustad Ahmed.
no, especially the seas, I
Yes.
mean, the people of the desert. But in another tafsir I had read, it can also refer to the blood, how the used blood, the blood that gets circulated, and the new blood that gets pumped out, they don't mix as well. I guess it's just another nuance to that scientific realm. So
Powerless gods. Did they worship besides Allah what can neither benefit nor harm them? And the disbeliever always collaborates against their Lord. SubhanAllah. What's the ayah what's the ayah in Arabic there?
Which bit?
55. Just saying.
وكان الكافر على ربه ظهيرا.
Advice to the Prophet: trust in Allah. And we have sent you, O Prophet, only as a deliverer of good news, only as a deliverer of good news and a warner. Say, I do not ask you for any reward for this message, but whoever wishes, let them pursue the way to their Lord. Put your trust in the ever living, who never dies. Put your trust in the ever living, who never dies, and glorify his praises. Sufficient is he as all aware of the sins of his servants. He is the one who created the heavens and the earth and everything in between 6 days, then established himself on the throne. He is the most compassionate. Ask none other than the all knowledgeable about himself. Denying Allah. When it is said to them, prostrate to the most compassionate, they ask and discuss, what is the most compassionate? Will we prostrate to whatever you order us to? And it only drives them farther away. Allah Almighty, blessed is the one who has placed constellations in the sky, as well as a radiant lamp and a luminous moon. And He is the one who causes the day and the night to alternate, as a sign for whoever desires to be mindful or to be grateful. Qualities of the righteous:
Just
humility.
one sec, Ustaz Yusuf, sorry. Verse 59, how was it translated? Ar-Rahmanu fas'al bihi khabira. Sheikh Nu has it here, the All Merciful, so just ask of him anyone well aware.
59, you said?
That's right.
He's the most compassionate. Ask none other than the all knowledgeable about himself.
I have here.
They're saying to ask no one other than himself, right?
I have here the one who has created the heavens and the earth, and all that is between them in the span of 670 days, who then settled himself over the throne befittingly, the Almighty, the All Merciful. So concerning him, there's a waqf too. So concerning him, O humanity, inquire of the Prophet, one who is divinely informed of the names worthy of God.
Okay, he's put a lot of extra things in there.
Yeah, he elaborated on that. Um, he elaborated on that. That's what
But here, like in Sheikh Nu's one, ask. Now, this is Mahmoud Piktal. Sorry, the Piktal translation. Ask anyone informed concerning him. The Khabira is not, can refer to anyone, not just to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Here says here in the Majid Fakhris, who created the heavens and the earth, and what lies between them in 6 days. Then the compassionate sat upon the throne. So ask about him, the well informed. He's making it refer to Allah.
We went past the Sajda verse as well, but obviously we can't make Sajda now. By the way, it says Tabarak, blessed and supreme is he. In this surah, this phrase is mentioned 3 times. This is the third and final one. It begins with Tabarak, in the middle was Tabarak, and it ends this passage with Tabarak.
No, this is an amazing surah, though. It's an amazing, and it's a world to itself, the way that it flows.
Yeah. Now, the servants of the compassionate one, right?
The qualities of the righteous. The first is humility. So he goes through a number of qualities. That's what I like about the organizational structure of this translation. Qualities of the righteous. First, humility. The true servants of the most compassionate are those who walk on the earth humbly. And when the foolish address them improperly, they only respond with peace. The second is sincere devotion. They are those who spend a good portion of the night prostrating themselves and standing before the Allah grant us all these qualities. Third, hope and fear. They are those who pray Our Lord, keep the punishment of hell away from us, for its punishment is indeed unrelenting. It is certainly an evil place to settle and reside. Fourth, moderate spending. They are those who spend neither wastefully nor stingily, but moderately in between. Five, avoiding major sins. They are those who do not invoke any other God besides Allah, nor take a human life made sacred by Allah except with legal right, nor commit fornication.
You
And
know, it
whoever does,
starts. Sorry, it starts the attributes by mentioning that they respond with peace to those who, say that when the ignorant address them, and then it talks about their nightlife, almost describing them like saintly people, spending the whole night in sajda and qiyam.
La ilaha illallah. May
You know,
Allah
in,
make us
in some of the tasawwuf works, it says that certain levels of spirituality can only be reached through good adab, through good etiquette. And this verse starts first praising the etiquette during the daytime, which perhaps allows them to go and reach that nightly, saintly life of theirs at nighttime. Yeah, it's interesting. Allahumma ja'alna minhu.
You know, the issue of amal al-yawm wal-layl is a
Mm,
theme that is brought up by the scholars of hadith, as you know, with regularity. They collect the hadith that
mm,
pertain to the works of the day and the works of the night. You know, Imam
no,
al-Ghazali, fi Bidayat al-Hidayah, he also kind of lays down an orientation for the Muslim. And there's some, actually, the book Uswatul Hasana uh, is a biography of the Prophet ﷺ, which is organized kind of like on the Prophet's routine. What was his routine like? Some people may think that that stuff is very like not intellectual basic, and I've seen that type of argument come from some people that are inclining for everything to be just intellectual. But these qualities of how you organize your day, you know, are what is going to bring us, is going to develop in us these other spiritual qualities. And of those, you know, is this issue of, you know, the seeking of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, you know, in the night. If that's not part of our program, which, you know, we fall short, we should realize that it's heavily emphasized. You know, is heavily emphasized. And how we structure our time is really going to be the implementation of the deen. You know what I'm saying? Which a lot of times, you know, we struggle with those things. And that's what helps us avoid major sins. Avoiding major sins, they are those who do not invoke any God besides Allah, nor take a human life made sacred by Allah except with legal intention and legal right, nor commit fornication. And whoever does any of this will face the penalty. Their punishment will be multiplied on the day of judgment, and they will remain in it forever in disgrace. As for those who repent, believe, and do good deeds, they are the ones whose evil deeds Allah will change into good deeds. That's for those who get caught up into the issue of qadr. Here, tawbah is transformative. You know, tawbah is transformative. For Allah is all forgiving, most merciful, and whoever repents and does good has truly turned to Allah properly. Some people, they get into the issue of qadr and they don't see how they can change. You know, and so they use qadr as an excuse to just stay kind of on their path, or they don't believe in the possibility of others changing. Avoiding falsehood. They are those who do not bear false witness, and when they come across falsehood, they pass by it with dignity, full submission. They are those who, when reminded of the revelation of their Lord, do not turn a blind eye or deaf ear to it. Righteous company. They are those who pray, our Lord, bless us with pious spouses and offsprings who will be the joy of our hearts and make us models for the righteous. The reward of the righteous. It is they who will be rewarded with elevated mansions in paradise for their perseverance, and will be received with salutations and greetings of peace, staying there forever. What an excellent place to settle and reside. Call to humanity. Say, O Prophet, you all would not even matter to my Lord were it not for your faith in him. But now you disbelievers have denied the truth, so the torment is bound to come.
Sheikh Yusuf, let's give you a break, inshallah. You've had a good run. Allah reward you. William, would you like to read?
Yes,
We
I
had to
can
put
read.
you to work now. We had to torture you.
The poet, the Shu'ara. This Meccan surah takes its name from the reference to poets in verses 224 to 226. Since the previous surah ends with a warning to the deniers of the truth, this surah recounts several cautionary tales of destroyed deniers such as Pharaoh and the peoples of Noah, Shu'aib, Lot, and Salih. Alayhim salam. The divine origin of the Quran is emphasized at both ends of the surah. The qualities of the believers mentioned in the last verse, 227, are elaborated upon at the beginning of the next surah, 227. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Ta Sin Mim. These are the verses of the clear book. Perhaps you, O Prophet, will grieve yourself to death over their disbelief. If we willed, we could send down upon them.
Have you noticed, not to cut you off, Dr. Sadiq, have both you and Ustad Ahmed noticed that the series of Surah after Surah Al-Mu'minun, all of them are characterizing the qualities of the believers in a very systematic way?
No, and I think at the end of this surah, it's going to start mentioning those characteristics too, but right at the end. No. Yeah. If we willed, we could send down upon them a compelling sign from the heavens, leaving their necks bent in utter submission to it. See, in other places it says we could send a sign, and if every sign had they seen, they would have not believed. But there are also signs that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had willed, He could have forced them to believe. But He didn't will that because He had different purposes. Whatever new reminder comes to them from the most compassionate, they always turn away from it. They have certainly denied the truth, so they will soon face the consequences of their ridicule. Have they failed to look at the earth to see how many types of fine plants we have caused to grow in it? Surely, and this is a sign, yet most of them will not believe. And your Lord is certainly the Almighty, most merciful. That's 9. Oh, wow. Prophet Moses, remember when your Lord called out to Moses, go to the wrongdoing people, the people of Pharaoh. Will they not fear Allah? He replied, my Lord, I fear that they will reject me. And so my heart will be broken and my tongue will be tied. So send Aaron along as a messenger. Yeah. Also, they had a charge against me, so I fear they may kill me. Allah responded, certainly not. So go, both of you, with our signs. We will be with you, listening. Go to Pharaoh and say, we are messengers from the Lord of all worlds, commanded to say, let the children of Israel go with us. Musa alayhi salam's tongues, أخاف أن يكذبون ويضيق صدري ولا ينطلق لساني. Ultimately, he was brought up in that household. So there's a lot of fear. Some modern scholars talk about this psychological fear, to go against the tyrant of your time that you were brought up in his house.
Not to
But
put you on the
scholars of
spot,
Kalam,
but who mentions that?
I've been in places where this view has been mentioned that basically scholars of Kalam saying that Musa alayhi salam not being able to, fearing his speech, it's not necessarily. Some have narrations where when he was a kid, the hot piece of thing was put on his tongue and he couldn't speak because of that. Some have viewed this to go against the attributes, the isma of the prophets from a kalam perspective. And so they've questioned these narrations. And they've said that the type of fear he had or the lack of eloquence that sometimes it's stated in the Quran, it's one scholar I remember said that it's more due to the psychological pressure of going against being brought up in a house of the leader of that time and going against that. I think I personally have to, because when we read Musa alayhi salam's speech, it's so eloquent. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri. You could write pages on his eloquence. Um,
That's a
yeah,
good point.
Allahu alam. No,
Yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but it just kind of because this issue is brought up heavy. A lot of contemporary scholarship, non-Muslim scholarship, they bring up these issues to kind of dissolute the persona of Musa. That's why when you brought that up, I was kind of. Have you heard that before? You know what I'm saying?
they're trying to like.
Yeah, like even Freud has a whole account on Moses where basically it just like they try to take out the whole persona of the prophet.
Hmm,
That's why I was interested to
I
kind of
didn't know that. No.
hear. Yeah.
Moses versus Pharaoh. Pharaoh protested, "Did we not raise you among us as a child, and you stayed several years of your life in our care? Then you did what you did, being utterly ungrateful." The Arabic of this is really nice. Then you did what you did. Um, verse 20.
وفعلت فعلتك التي فعلت وأنت من الكافرين.
Yeah, yeah. Because when you check the dictionary, what does wait, where's I can't find the verse.
19.
Oh, it's 19. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the definition for fa'alatak is usually an evil deed. So you did what you did, which you did. Um, Moses replied, "I did it then, lacking guidance. So I fled from you when I feared you. Then my Lord granted me wisdom and made me one of the messengers. How can that be a favor of which you remind me when it was only because you have enslaved the children of Israel?" Like, yes, I was brought up in your house, but the only reason I ended up in your house was because you were killing the sons of Ben Israel. So, what are you trying to boast about some of the good you've done? Uh, Many things can be said in the modern world. Like, don't boast about accepting a lot of refugees. You need it for economic reasons. Pharaoh asked, "And what is the Lord of the worlds?" Moses replied, "He is the Lord of the heavens and the earth and everything in between. If only you had sure faith." Pharaoh said to those around him, "Did you hear what he said?" Moses added, "He is your Lord and the Lord of your forefathers." Pharaoh said mockingly, "Your messenger who has been sent to you must be insane." Moses responded, "He is the Lord of the east and the west and everything in between them. If only he had any sense. If only you had any sense." Pharaoh threatened, "If you take any other gods beside me, I will certainly have you imprisoned." Moses responded, "Even if I bring you a clear proof?" Pharaoh demanded, "Bring it then, if what you say is true." So he threw down his staff, and behold, it became a real snake. Then he drew his hand out of his collar, and white, it was shining white for all to see. Pharaoh said to the chiefs around him, "He is indeed a skilled magician, who seeks to drive you from your Lord by his magic. So what do you propose?" They replied, "Let him and his brother wait and dispatch mobilizers to all cities, to bring you every skilled magician." So the magicians were assembled at the set time on the appointed day, and the people were asked, "Will you join the gathering, so that we may follow the magicians if they prevail?" The dialogue where Firaun is trying to cause distractions, but Musa alayhi salam just keeps describing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of the East and the West, when what's in between. And Pharaoh tries to get the people around him listening to change the topic, but Musa alayhi salam just continues speaking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's very powerful, that stance. We were just talking about the eloquence of it. It's one of the most eloquent ways. And at the end, when he realizes that the listeners are really being influenced, he's like, "I'm going to punish you if you continue." And then he says, "What if I show you a sign?" Um, now, we're up to 41. So the magicians fell down. No, 41. When the magicians came, they asked Pharaoh, "Shall we have a suitable reward if we prevail?" He replied, "Yes, and you will then certainly be among those closest to me." Moses said to them, "Cast whatever you wish to cast." So they cast down their ropes and staffs, saying, "By Pharaoh's might, it is we who will surely prevail." Then Moses threw down his staff, and behold, it devoured the objects of their illusion. Magicians become believers. So the magicians fell down, prostrating. They declared, "We now believe in the Lord of all the worlds, the Lord of Moses and Aaron." Pharaoh threatened, "How dare you believe in him before I give you permission? He must be your master who taught you magic, but soon you will see. I will certainly cut off your hands and feet on opposite sides, then crucify you all." They responded, "That would be no harm. Surely to our Lord we will all return. We really hope that our Lord will forgive our sins, as we are the first to believe." Pharaoh chases the Israelites. And we inspired Moses, saying, "Leave my servants at night, for you will surely be pursued." Then Pharaoh sent mobilizers to all cities and said, "These outcasts are just a," if you can scroll down, "these outcasts are just a handful of people who have really enraged us, but we are all on the alert. So we lured the tyrants out of their gardens, springs, treasures, and splendid residences. So it was, and we rewarded it all to the children of Israel." He says these are outcasts, there are only a few people. Again, you see the contradiction in the speech. He's saying, "Oh, these outcasts," I think the word was shirzimatun, right?
Hmm.
50.
That's the word, Ustaz.
Yeah, this is Khalilun. But he sends the whole army and they all get destroyed. Uh, you see contradictions in people's speech. Yes. Now, if we could continue. The end of Pharaoh. And so they pursued them at sunrise. All the prophets were often told to leave at night time. We mentioned with Lut alayhi salam. Ustad Yusuf, perhaps Sheikh Yusuf can remind us the hadith. Whoever wants to reach their destination, falyudlij, let him leave early at night time. The end of Pharaoh. So they pursued them at sunrise, and when the two groups came face to face, the companions of Moses cried out, "We are overtaken for sure." Moses reassured them, "Absolutely not. My Lord is certainly with me. He will guide me." So we inspired Moses, "Strike the sea with your staff," and the sea was split. Each part was like a huge mountain. We drew the pursuers to that place and delivered Moses and those with him all together. Then we drowned the others. Surely, and this is a sign, yet most of them would not believe, and your Lord is certainly the Almighty, most merciful. Prophet Abraham. Relate to them, O Prophet, the story of Abraham. When he questioned his father and his people, "What is that you worship besides Allah?" They replied, "We worship idols to which we are fully devoted." Abraham asked, "Can they hear you when you call upon them? Or can they benefit or harm you?" They replied, "No, but we found our forefathers doing the same." Abraham responded, "Have you really considered what you have been worshipping, you and your ancestors? They are all enemies to me, except the Lord of all the worlds. He is the one who created me, and He alone guides me. He is the one who provides me with food and drink, and He alone heals me when I am sick. And He is the one who will cause me to die and then bring me back to life. And He is the one who I hope will forgive my flaws on Judgment Day." Again, his scholars point to the good adab. Sheikh Yusuf was talking about the du'as of the prophets, teaches good adab. Here, when he's describing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the positive things he's saying it referring الَّذِي خَلَقَنِي فَهُوَ يَهْدِينِ وَالَّذِي هُوَ يُطْعِمُنِي وَيَسْقِينِ. But when it comes to sickness, he says وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ, when I become sick. He doesn't say إِذَا الَّذِي يُمْرِضُني or something. وَإِذَا
No,
مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ. But
no.
when I become sick, he's the one who grants me um,
Healing.
shifa,
Yeah.
heals me. Do you mind if you look at 751 because it says khati'ati in the translation? It is narrated by Tirmidhi, the Prophet said that Abraham did not tell the full truth only 3 different occasions. Ma'arid is referred to. When he justified his absence from the pagan festival by saying, I am sick. When they all went to the festival, he stayed back and he said, I am sick. When he destroyed the idols and blamed it on the biggest one. And when he said that Sarah was his sister to save her from a tyrant ruler. Yeah. Subhanallah. Abraham's prayer. My Lord, subhanAllah, the du'as of Ibrahim alayhi salam have been uniquely emphasized when he builds the Kaaba, when he leaves his children.
Yeah.
My Lord, grant me wisdom and join me with the righteous. Bless me with honorable mention among later generation. Make me one of those awarded the garden of bliss. Forgive my father, for he's certainly one of the misguided. And do not disgrace me on the day all will be resurrected. The day when neither wealth nor children will be of any benefit. Only those who come before Allah with a pure heart will be saved. His qalb salim is constantly talked about by spiritual elites of the Naam. Judgment Day. On that day, paradise will be brought near to the God-fearing, and the hellfire will be displayed to the deviant. And it will be said to them, where are those you used to worship besides Allah? Can they help you or even help themselves? Then the idols will be held long into hell, along with the deviant, and the soldiers of Iblis all together. There the deviant will cry while disputing with their idols, by Allah we were clearly mistaken, when we made you equal to the Lord of all worlds. And none led us astray other than the wicked. Now we have none to intercede for us, nor a close friend. If only we could have a second chance, then we would be believers. Surely, and this is a sign, yet most of them will not believe, and your Lord is certainly the Almighty, most merciful. The people of Noah rejected the messengers. When their
The
brother
idea,
Noah,
the idea of regret in kufr, has come up quite frequently in recent readings. That that part of disbelief is going to be regret and a recognition is going to be a forced recognition by testimony of your state of what goodness it was that was given to you in this world and what an opportunity it was for you to utilize. And there's this idea of wishing that you can go back. If you're from the people of the hellfire, wishing you can go back and live life the right way.
yeah, Prophet Noah. The people of Noah rejected the messengers when their brother Noah said to them, will you not fear Allah? I am truly a trustworthy messenger to you. So fear Allah and obey me. I do not ask you for any reward for this message. My reward is only from the Lord of all worlds. So fear Allah and obey me. They argued, how can we believe in you when you are followed only by the lowest of the low? He responded, and what knowledge do I have of what they do? Their judgment is with my Lord, if you had any sense. I am not
SubhanAllah.
going to expel the believers, I am only sent with a clear warning.
SubhanAllah.
Noah's people destroyed. They threatened, if you do not desist, O Noah, you will surely be stoned to death. Noah prayed, this marju mean of, you'll be of those stoned. Some have said that it could refer to like character assassination as well. Allahu alam.
What ayah is that?
112. No.
Yeah, I've got that here as well. So
Do you?
yeah, like one cursed or debased. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Continuing. 113.
116.
116. Noah's people destroyed. They threatened, if you do not desist, oh no, you will surely be stoned to death. That's the verse we're referring to.
Mhm.
Noah prayed, oh my Lord, my people have truly rejected me. So judge between me and them decisively and save me and the believers with me. So we saved him and those with him in the fully loaded ark. Then afterwards we drowned the rest. Surely in this is a sign, yet most of them would not believe, and your Lord is certainly the Almighty, most merciful. Prophet Hud, the people of Ad rejected the messengers when their brother Hud said to them, will you not fear Allah? I am truly a trustworthy messenger to you, so fear Allah and obey me. I do not ask you for any reward for this message. My reward is only from the Lord of all worlds. Why do you build a landmark on every high place in vanity, and construct castles as if you are going to live forever, and act so viciously when you attack others? So fear Allah and obey me. Fear the one who has provided you with the good things you know. He provided you with cattle and children and gardens and springs. I truly fear for you the torment of a tremendous day. Here it's sort of, he's criticizing the harsh way they dealt with people. In Surah Hud, if I'm not mistaken, it said, if you believe in this message, Allah will just add strength to your power. So one is questioning the way they do it, but also if you believe in God, these good things that you're uniquely characterized with, these people, Allah can increase this.
No.
It's like the Prophet I'm telling the Quraysh, if you believe in this Quran, your Arabic eloquency would even become better. It's something like that. It's like as if that was said. Hud's people destroyed. They responded, it is all the same to us whether you warn us or not. This is simply the tradition of our predecessors, and we will never be punished. So they rejected him, and so we destroyed them. Surely in this is a sign, yet most of them would not believe, and your Lord is certainly the Almighty, most merciful. Prophet Salih, the people of Thamud rejected the messengers when their brother Salih said to him, will you not fear Allah? I am truly a trustworthy messenger to you. So fear Allah and obey me. I do not ask you for any reward for this message. My reward is only from the Lord of all worlds. Do you think you will be forever left secure in what you have here, amid gardens and springs and various crops and palm trees loaded with tender fruit, to carve homes in the mountains with great skill? So fear Allah and obey me, and do not follow the command of the transgressors who spread corruption throughout the land, never setting things right.
Could finish with this passage, Ustaz Sadaq, so it would finish the page, the next few verses, inshallah.
Okay.
Including 159.
Oh yeah, we're not going to complete the Jews today, are we?
No. Yeah, we'll have 8 pages left of the Jews.
Okay. Tamam. Salih's people destroyed. They replied, you are simply bewitched. You are only a human being like us, so bring forth a sign if what you say is true. Salih said, here is a camel. She will have her turn to drink. She will have her turn to drink as you have yours, each on an appointed day. And do not ever touch her with harm, or you'll be overtaken by the torment of a tremendous day. But they killed her, becoming regretful. So the punishment overtook them. Surely in this is a sign, yet most of them would not believe. And your Lord is certainly the Almighty, most merciful.
It's mentioned over and over again.
I think we can stop here, inshallah, verse 160, and we'll continue from here onwards, inshallah. Okay. Khairan jazak, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, and see you all tomorrow, inshallah.
Yeah, like it's,